Alright, so this is for Math 114. Alright, so this is having to do with permutations and combinations. So these are the group members, just so we all get credit. So we had 2 trials for our activity. So for the first trial, we had a sample size of 8, and we were tasked with picking 2, 3, and 4 elements. For the first one, the math behind it is you take 8 times 7 for your 2 choices and the possibilities, and then you divide by the number of choices you made to account for replications or repeats, because it's just a combination, so order doesn't matter. So if you do 8 times 7 divided by 2 times 1, that gives you the answer of 28. For our pick 3, you have 3 choices, so you just do 8 times 7 times 6 divided by, again, the amount of replications, which would be 3 times 2 times 1 equals 56. For our fourth, pick 4, you do 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 as your choices, and then divide by the number of replications, which would be 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 to give us a total of 70. The math and thinking behind that is if we have pick 2 elements, then we divide by the number of elements that were picked to account for the replications. For instance, in pick 2, we pick 2 elements, so we divide by 2 times 1. In pick 3, we pick 3 elements, so we divide by 3 times 2 times 1, and so on. In our second trial, we were tasked with whittling down the sample size a little bit and picking one characteristic out of all of our elements to test for. For our group, we had 5 green marbles out of 8, so we just picked our sample size to be the 5 green marbles. And then we were tasked with picking 5 marbles total, or not picking 5, but picking 2 out of the 5, and tasked with finding the probability. So the math goes as follows: 5 times 4 equals 20, divided by 2 times 1 equals a total of 10 possibilities for picking 2 green marbles out of the 5. And the other math as listed above is 5 times 4 divided by 2 times 1. The 5 times 4 coming from the sample size of 5 picks and 4 options, divided by the number of replications, for a total of 10 possible outcomes of picking 2 out of 5. Some differences between the 2 trials were the total sample sizes. In trial 1, we had a total of 8 marbles to choose from, and in trial 2, we only had a total of 5 to choose from. Some things that stayed the same were the elements themselves. We didn't modify the elements in any way. And the other thing that stayed the same was the math behind solving. So up here we had 8 times 7 divided by 2 times 1. And down here we had 5 times 4 divided by 2 times 1. So the math stayed the same, but the sample sizes were different.